I did this incorrectly. I was trying to do more things, but hey guys, what's going on? Oh, oh, yes, it won't let me do that. It's all right. This is why you need to pay your bills, people. But all right, Memes here, and I'm joined by the famous, the one, the only, the zero cool, the Dade Murphy. My apologies for offending you again.
Offending me, shit. You couldn't offend me if you tried.
Well, we'll see about that.
Well, you offended me because you said you're trying to do this shit on a MacBook. I'm like, well, there's your first problem.
It's all right. It's all right. And let me go through and we'll see what happens in these stream yards of stuff and things. As we currently have zero people watching, but that's okay right now
Well,
because that's all right. We'll share it out upon the interwebs here. It's all right. We pretend to be professional, but we do what we got to do. So all right, let's put that right there. Hopefully that doesn't tweet out pornography or anything. But these things happen. Okay. But no, I put the little thing. I guess the countdown worked, but
I saw the countdown.
No, I did, but I was trying to time in a little Eric Weinstein clip that I'd uploaded, but apparently I had just paid my credit card bill because it didn't go through, and then all of a sudden I don't have access to these features. Oh no, these things happen. I'm a terrible Jew. But so apparently I believe Nintendo is genius. Why do I say Nintendo is genius? Well, apparently they made the decision to add Sephiroth into the game.
Yeah, I guess before we get to that,
right. Yes.
We have to pick up where you left off on your last video. They had originally planned to do this on Monday, and I was going to be there, but I had to work yesterday.
Right.
And I talked to Jensen Quinn and MC and all those guys, and I fucking it. You know, I don't know what to say. It's just it. Last year, I lost my aunt, I lost my father, and I lost my brother-in-law. This year, about 3.5 weeks ago, I lost my mom. And I just said, screw this, blah, blah, blah. And then I find out Mad Dodge passes away in his sleep, and I lost it. I cannot take this. I mean, he was a 36-year-old young man. He had his wife and his kids. He was always a pleasure to be on a live stream with. He was one of the things I don't think I heard through the live stream with Jensen was I don't think if I missed it, fine, I'm wrong, but I don't think I heard anybody say what a gracious host he was.
It was kind of touched upon. I think at one point there they were saying he brought a lot of folks from a lot of different communities and cliques together there. He did have the ability to just kind of moderate chaos, if you would, which is essentially what the Red Eye was. I kind of equate off to, it's kind of like when they'd have like a battle royal or something on like Monday Night Raw or something. It's just like, but it was like that basically all the time.
I equate him to being a gracious host because there was a lot of times, and I've told him this to his face, and he agreed, and I don't think he ever did it in the long run, and I guess it doesn't, just what are you going to say now? I always told him to speak up more because it was his live stream. And sometimes, myself included, being guilty as charged, you would steamroll over him. But I think he wanted to hear what you had to say and where you're going with this. And he always had the best attitude of, if you gave him a zinger, he would call you on it. He was like, oh, fuck you. And I'm like, yeah. And I was like, yeah. And then he'd get back at you about 5 minutes later. He was such a gracious host, and he was such a pleasure to talk to. I don't think I ever had any problems with him. We've always agreed to disagree on some things, and there were some things I did not want to talk about. And he would try his best to avoid those subjects. Then somehow we'd go down the rabbit hole anyway. And he just, I'm sorry, but I missed the kids talking in the background. That was always, as a father, that always made me chuckle. I was just like, your kids got you. I'm just like, whatever. And he loved his kids. He loved his wife. He loved doing, he loved being the host of the Red Eye. And I love some of the classic battles that him and MC got into. over historical stuff, and he always kept saying the South will rise again. I'm like, yeah, just as a viewer, like, all right, whatever. But what do you say about Mad Dodge? I guess it's this. He was a gracious host. He was a good host, a damn good person to talk to. And on a certain level, he was a damn good friend. I mean, I think the biggest problem that we have with the society is we don't have the ability to connect with each other as we'd like to anymore, because I think we're too concerned about what people think about us face to face. And I think one of the things that the internet does, stuff like this does, we can just be unfettered in both our communications as well as our thoughts. And Mad Dodge was one of those guys that he could roll with the punches. He could give as well as he got. And he had such a great personality, larger than life personality on certain levels. And sometimes, like I said, I think he caved in a little too bit, but I think he was also just wanting to see where things went, and maybe that was part of it. But he was, he was fun. He was, he was one of those people that he explained himself. I think he may have over-explained himself sometimes, but he explained where he stood, and that's a great thing. If you can just say to a person, like an example was, everybody thought I had a problem with a certain other person. It's like, personality conflicts can sometimes just be too much. And Dodge came up and said, hey, I know this happened between you, this person, and this, you and here, and I'm not taking sides. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, that's fine. Thank you for telling me where you stand, because the thing that pisses me off on a certain level is not telling me where you stand. If you're going to say you're with me, you're with me. If you're not with me, if you're not with me. If you want to say, hey, look, I have the right to be friends with two different types of people, that's great. Tell a person what you're thinking. Tell a person how you feel. Be honest and upfront. And he was that, to me at least. And we were fucking we were fucking gypped.
He was a good dude.
We got robbed. We have so many people on this planet that genuinely deserve to go bye-bye. And we were robbed.
We do not promote that here, but I get the gist of what you're saying there. Dude, I've seen far too many good people like go out way too
exactly.
soon.
That's
that's
my
human
point.
being. So it's like
that's what I'm saying. It's like we have too many people that we have too many people on this planet that just do not bring anything good to the table. Mad Dodge always brought something good to the table. End of fucking story. I posted on my Twitter a song by Iron Maiden called Wasted Years. And when I heard that song, after I heard he died, I actually had to go to work. And that song just popped right up on my CD player in my car. Yeah, I still have a CD player. I don't care. And I pulled over and I cried for about that whole song, because there's a line in there that says, so understand, don't waste your time looking for those wasted years. And the song is actually about being on the road way too much, but it was more the fact that when I thought about Mad Dodge on it, so like he, it just felt right. I think that song, song came out like 1986, but I think that song played when it needed to play. I had a hell of a rough last 2 years, losing more than half my family, and then losing one of my best internet friends, somebody who was always there for us when he always was saying, hey, I'm going to do this, or I'm not going to be able to make it. Somebody who made time. And and his wife and his kids, they had lost their house, they had lost their home, and then this.
Right before Christmas.
I just, I lost my father in September of last year. I lost my brother-in-law before Christmas. But as bad as those things were, and they are bad to me, I cannot compare them to what his wife and his kids went through. They lost their home, and then they lost their father and her husband. It's just like, that's just, at 36, that's what fucking kills me more than anything. And he was a young man who deserved to live way more than most people who have done very bad things that have been around too long. Mad Dodge, I don't have anything else. I don't have nothing negative to say about the guy. I miss you, brother. I would, if I was the Flash, I would run back in time. I would bring you forward in time. I'd find some way, some way to prevent this. But this is everybody that was on Jensen's stream and your video, which I thought was probably one of the best eulogies I've heard in a while for anybody. We're all powerless in the face of death, and it's what we do. And I donated. I asked Jensen, I said, hey, is there, something I didn't have a lot of money, but I just like some small way I can help donate to the missus. And he said, yeah, here's the link. And I did, but it's not enough. So my heart and my thoughts and my love from the Murphy family, my daughters and my sisters, go to you, Mrs. Mad Dodge. We miss your husband very much. God bless you and the kids.
Right. No, thank you for that, Dade. And I think I have the link over here just in case. And basically, Mad Dodge was one of the guys that kind of helped get me back into the whole YouTube thing and stuff. And earlier in some of the Oregon fires, the family's home burned down, and then they were basically outside living in tents. And then basically our friend Mad Dodge, who was only 36 years old just recently, he passed away in his sleep, and now he has widowed, I believe, 6 children, and his spouse too, who basically right before Christmas they lost their dad. So I mean, I realize times are tough for everybody, but if anybody has the ability to help, again, everything is appreciated, never required at all.
Guys,
hey there, Joyce Wookie.
Even if it's $1 or $2, just do what you can. Because I know damn well for a fact, if it was any one of us, he would do it for us.
This is the thing, because like within these different communities, you'll have all these different things, whether it's the skeptic community, Comicsgate, the Fandom Menace, this, that, or the other thing. It's like what ends up happening, it's like you'll see communities all going through different purity spirals, you'll see different factionings, but what ends up sticking around is usually the groups and different little cliques of folks that kind of like have different circles that intersect with different circles and stuff. It's basically the folks that you like and trust and everything. It's the folks you like to have a little bit of banter about, whether it's talking about Asgardia, whether it's talking about like furries trying to like take over the world, or just whatever is in between there.
Oh, I always two things that I've always remembered the best is that, and Doku's in both of these, is when Doku, Mad Dodge, and I would talk about movies or something or other along those lines, and then on the flip side, and I haven't done this in a while, and if I ever get to it, it'd be great. But Frank, Shandor, Doku, and we would do the drinking game. And while those guys would get drunk, I'd be getting blitzed out of my mind on pre-workout or like a Bang or a Red Bull or some shit, because I'd rather be hyper than drunk. But Mad Dodge,
dude, that's how you blow up your heart.
Opinion on this, and I'm like, I don't think you do. And he goes, yeah, I really do. And I'm like, all right, here we go. And there were times like, oh my God, what did I do? I was like, hey, you looked at the train wreck, you invited it.
This actually explains a lot now that I think about it.
Because
I would say, like, Dave, you're like our resident freaking like copyright approved razor fist, because you would just go on some rants and everything. No, because it's wonderful, because you would rant, I would understand where you were coming from, and if I actually brought up a point that you were just like, I hadn't considered that, in the exact same tone, but you would acknowledge it.
You get to a certain age in life, and you realize you don't know jack you don't know jack shit. And there's a thing that I live by. I've told people this. If I'm wrong, and I'll admit to it. But if I'm right, you're gonna wish you never knew that I was right, because it often is providing disastrous results of some type. And I know that has a very negative connotation, but I'm one of those people I'd rather be wrong and learn something from it than be right, because every time I'm right, it's over something disastrous that somebody thinks, oh, that's not going to happen. It's like, well, you raise kids, you've seen a lot, you see stuff, and it's like, oh, you can see a pattern forming, and there you go.
When it gets to the point where it's like, well, based upon what I'm seeing, something really terrible could happen. It's like the kid's trying to climb up on the stove or something like that.
Yeah.
This is probably going to be happening. And once you start developing that pattern recognition technique, it's like you see a bunch of folks doing things that are not wise. It's probably not going to end well.
Well, with Mad Dodge having 6 kids, he probably figured out by the third one, yeah, I know exactly what these other 3 are going to do. And, I only had 2 girls. And they were about 3 years apart. So the oldest one did the stuff first. And it's kind of like, oh, you don't think I know what you're going to do? Because, I've got nephews and nieces, and I have 2 other sisters, and it's the funny, and Mad Dodge, he agreed with me. It's like, yeah, when we have kids, we look at our parents thinking, oh, see, now I understand, it's like your parents tell you, oh, wait till you have kids. And you're like, yeah, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then you have kids, and then, the joke's on you, and you have to go to your parents and say, oops, yeah, you're right.
You may start to come to realize, and again, I don't have any kids that I know of, knock on wood, is that basically, oh, maybe my parents didn't necessarily tell me all the times I was being a little shit, or maybe all the times they were telling me I was being a little shit and I didn't believe them. I was actually being a little shit.
It was actually more the fact that your parents aren't as stupid as you think they are. And if you do consider them stupid in any way, the joke's on you, because your kids are going to do the same shit to you. Mad Dodge had this sixfold. And I'm sure him and the missus are like, yeah, we know what this one's going to do over here, because, the other 2 over, these kids have done it. I can't speak for him, but just saying as a parent, and that's one of the reasons Mad Dodge and I got along so well. We're both parents. And we would trade stories. Oh yeah, my kid did this. I'm like, you got to be shitting me. He goes, yeah, and I'm like, oh my god, I was like, how many girls do you have again? He goes, and I said, oh yeah, wait till they hit 12 or 13. He goes, fuck you. This is something that a father doesn't want to hear. It's like, oh, my little girl's gonna grow up, and it's like, well,
Yeah, it's gonna come to pass. So.
But that was one of the best things I remember about Mad Dodge is both of us being dads and sharing stories about what our kids did or are doing. And I know they annoyed the shit out of him when he was on live streams, but we all secretly were just waiting for one of the kids to chime in and just pull his just pull on his chain going, Dad! He'd be like, what?
No,
him and his kids brought joy to the live stream. They really did.
It added character. And speaking of adding characters,
so
I mean, it's no. Finish your point. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying. So that's all I had to say about that. Thank you for giving me time to give a thank you to Mad Dodge for. I've known him for like 4 or 5 years, and 4 or 5 years, and I met him through Ogre. And
me too, exactly.
Yeah. And thank you very much, Mad Dodge. I miss you. I miss you as much as I miss my mom and my dad and my brother-in-law. You were one of the people I always look forward to talking to. God fucking speed, as Razor Fist would say.
No, I feel bad because I got invited to go into a voice chat in Discord one of the other days last week, and I didn't do it. I was going to pop into his server. I just didn't do it. I really wish I had.
Yeah. Well,
power to him.
So Sephiroth apparently has joined the Smash Brothers game.
Yes, this is gone.
And as you and I were talking before this started, I said I'm actually not surprised. And you had mentioned that Cloud Strife was there, and I said, well, yeah, there's that. But Final Fantasy originally started for at least the first 6 games on the Nintendo systems, up until 7, and brief history for those people who don't know. Final Fantasy VII only went to the PlayStation because of the disc system as opposed to the cartridge system. And if you can find the game trailer series about it, they'll talk about how many are actually taken to have that game on there instead of
The
a
amount of
disc
storage,
system.
because
Oh
even
shit!
because I remember, was it CDs back in the day? They could range from around like 600 to 700 megabytes. Because at the time, I remember, because what was it? Final Fantasy VII. It was 3 CDs.
Yeah,
That
3
was the thing.
discs,
It was a
and
3 disc
they
set.
were black.
And
And they were
right.
and they're black. You know, they're black on, so you can't touch them. You can't even fart wrong, or it would screw with the disc. And then PlayStation 2 comes along. Oh fuck it, it's on a DVD. Okay.
gives you a lot more storage space as well. No, because like you said, to do that for cartridges and stuff, in theory, okay, you'd have to have multiple cartridges. You need to then have a ability to transfer the memory on. So whether you're doing that by an encrypted save password for your stats or something like that, it's like, that's complicated. PlayStation, they have the memory card. You put it in everything. Because I remember at one point, I ended up transferring one of my files to like my friend's memory card stuff. He's like, "You already have like Knights of the Round and stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, I got you." He's like, "Thank you." And like, you would just scroll through and crush the weapons and stuff like that. I mean, it was a fun time, but yes, essentially.
Well, and then the Game Shark would come out, and then you basically be able to be a bitch and just get Aerith. We didn't call her Aerith back then. We called her Aerith.
Aerith.
Or was it Aerith? One of the two. Yeah. But before she even died, you could rank her up by using a Game Shark and putting in those bullshit cheat codes and getting all the, everybody's limits and all this. You could finally, and because it was encoded on the disc, you could actually do it.
You could grind a lot of the level-based skills out. However, at the time, it's like you also, I think, got diminishing returns on your experience. So that'd be kind of like the whole South Park World of Warcraft. It's like, we will kill boars.
Well, it was the thing on the Game Shark. You could actually just put in a code, and your XP would just run everything through, and then boom, boom, boom. Like within about 15, 20 minutes, all your characters were maxed out. Now, try doing this and the next generation would have been in Nintendo 64. Trying doing this shit on a Nintendo 64. I think they had memory cards. I didn't really play N64, but that would have been virtually highly improbable, if not outright impossible for that generation.
Well, also to try to add in all the high-res cutscenes and stuff as well.
High-res at the time.
Right. Well, because for the CD, they could have it. Basically, I would assume the cutscenes were in a bit of a different format than your standard gameplay. Because the gameplay, like at the time, it was 3D models, but I mean, they're still heavily pixelated models. I mean, it really wasn't that far off of something like a Minecraft.
No, and that was the best thing. The PlayStation 1, the original PlayStation. I'm not calling it a PS1 because that's more of a down the road after the PS2, just to extend the life. The original PlayStation came out. That's what those scenes were for. They were hiding all the load screens. That's why you couldn't skip the animatics.
Oh, you know what though? They made you actually kind of enjoy waiting in that case.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what they did. Because
I ain't gonna lie, I love seeing the cannon blow up that freaking big weapon.
Yeah, and they were hiding the loading screens. Because if you were to play some other games like the original Tekken, loading screens this, loading screens that, even some of the Mortal Kombat transfers to the N64 or the PlayStation or the original Xbox, loading screens. And I think Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero had quite the bit of loading screens, which pissed people off. I think, and if I'm wrong, you guys let me know. I know James Rolfe, the Angry Video Game Nerd, did a video on that. But so that's one of the many reasons that we probably have the capability of getting Sephiroth back into the Nintendo games, not necessarily because of Cloud Strife, because Final Fantasy originally started on Nintendo, the Famicom actually from Japan.
Well, yeah, the original series stuff. I remember playing, what was it, Final Fantasy 2, which was in fact Final Fantasy actually 6, I believe. This is the interesting thing. I actually have Final Fantasy anthologies, I think, still hidden away somewhere. I still haven't played through it. I need to play through it at some point. I think I might still have a PlayStation. I don't know. Well, dude, I never had an N64 mode. I'm
Yeah, me
sorry.
neither.
I had, although I can see why people really liked it because I mean, Super Mario World. I mean, that did seem pretty fun. But yes, as far as Sephiroth goes,
What was
let's.
it? The two big games for the N64 were Super Mario World and Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time.
Dude, that was such a great game. I think I only played it at like a friend's house a few times. I'm like, because I love A Link to the Past, and I'm like, this is it in 3D. I want to play, but you want to watch some of this. I'm going to attempt to do something very cheap right now
All right,
because,
well, I'm going to shut up then.
all right, we're going to attempt to play this. I can't share the audio because I'm such a noob here, so I'm going to play it on my phone as well. Let's see how it kind of syncs up a little bit. All right, let's see how this goes. Apparently, those are the two main bosses, I think, at the end of current Smash Brothers. Two giant, like, angel-like eye super hands or something. Charging up. Uh-oh. What happened? Everyone's like, Nani. Oh. Oh, there it comes. There it comes. Uh-oh. Just as soon as I heard that music and everything. Dude, the amount of Easter eggs. You can call it a ripoff or whatnot. None of this is actual game footage either. So brave smash despair. That's from Advent Children. From the game. Just freaking start wrecking people with a Mosmin and going up like an Advent Children. The barrier spell. He has all the different arcing strikes that they've done for the different games. Goes through a portal. Oh, that's not quite Eris. DeRosa's little wing there. Alright, we'll attempt to... Let's do this. Alright, well, we'll pause it there so at least we can kind of moderate through attempted fair use.
You know what? Screw you, Sephiroth. If I ever get this game, I'm going to kick your ass with Simon Belmont, you little pansy ass.
I was always a Samus fan there. I always like charging up the blaster and like even like dropping those little bombs and kind of like that little mobility thing. I always enjoyed that. And then I found out I'm like, oh, Samus happens to be a girl. I'm like,
well, no
that's
shit.
freaking sweet. She's actually an avian man. Smart bird.
I'm just liking this. I haven't played this game, but this is one of those things that just as an observer, I've loved this game because it's a massive melee game. And any game you get to play Princess... Yeah, fucking weeps. Screw you.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. It's okay, man. We're accepting here.
I'm just laughing at this, that anybody that I'm going to wait down the road. I'm going to find somebody playing Princess Rosalina kicking Sephiroth's ass. How can you not like this game, even as an observer?
Oh, it's freaking beautiful. It's Easter eggs. And again, none of this is actual game footage. I'm pretty sure they literally just made most of this for the trailer, took some of the scenes out there, because even the point where Sephiroth is going up and destroying the part of basically that top thing there, that's basically, they rendered it in, what was it, Smash style, but that's actually from Advent Children, when Sephiroth starts fighting Cloud, and he's like cleaving up as he's like knocking over the skyscraper right after they had beat Bahamut. I don't know. It was beautiful. It really got to me. And the sheer fact that they put things like that into the game, and the part coming up is actually just, it is quite a work of art. So we'll get back to the trailer. All right, let me line this up with a little moon here, and we'll hit play to go back at it. Excuse me, meteor. Just rolling people. Oh, look! Mario! It's a not to me! You gotta have a Cloud battle. Oh, there we go. He's doing it. Oh, that is beautiful. Oh, that gets
That's
me
actually
thinking.
pretty darn good. I think that's fun. One of the things that I've liked about Smash Brothers, I fucking hate Disney, so I will never play Kingdom Hearts. I hate that fucking series. And they bastardized the shit out of Final Fantasy's characters in that game. But Smash Brothers is fucking hilarious because it's a massive brawler melee game with all these characters from all these different genres. And as I was telling you before we started, they put them on a level playing field. This is the answer to that bullshit question of, well, who would win in a battle between Goku and Superman? And nobody can agree on what the ground rules are. Super Smash Brothers.
Well, also which universe as well? Because I remember, what was it? According to Wizard Comics, Goku would have originally beat Superman by throwing him to Earth, a la the whole Doomsday episode as well. However, according to Death Battle, Superman just keeps on ending up winning, even if in the original one, as soon as Superman ran out of juice, if Goku actually realized that and capitalized, he probably could have won there. So again, it all comes down to situational, as well as Superman don't like magic. So you get Goku hold him there for a second. It's like one Havana Kedavra, and that's GG Superman.
Well, that's fanboy fucktardery as well. It's like, well, who would win between this person and this person? It's like, well, if you can't agree on the ground rules for the laws of physics, to say the least, there's no point. A while back, earlier this year, there was on Twitter, there was this versus this person I follow versus something. They had something about the Juggernaut versus somebody else, and I said, they had Juggernaut versus Superman. And I said, solely based on if they're on the level playing field, even if you put it in the DC universe or the Marvel universe, whatever you want to do, because the Marvel universe and the DC universe both have the same laws of physics as what our universe is supposed to have, Juggernaut's going to win. And everybody's like, oh, screw you. And I'm like, no, you fanboys obviously don't know nothing about Juggernaut. He is.
You're going to have to explain that, because obviously I don't know enough about Juggernaut.
The Juggernaut they're basing it off of, they're both comic book versions. The Juggernaut has what's called the Crimson Bands of Sidorak. They're mystical in energy. He is a Juggernaut. He doesn't have to sleep. He doesn't have to eat. He's a continual, perpetual motion machine on two legs. Now, Superman, he's not a wuss, but while he's vulnerable against magic, Juggernaut would most likely beat his ass. And then I said, however, not necessarily a flip side to this, but Superman's smarter. So if Superman were going to win, he would have, and this is why modern comics suck on a certain level. They don't know how to do any of this anymore. Superman would outthink the Juggernaut. It's that simple. Superman's not an idiot. He's very intelligent. He has battle experience. The Juggernaut does too, but the Juggernaut's fueled by pretty much. It's not Superman don't like magic. It's magic can kill Superman if he's not careful. Exactly, Jeffrey Turner. And this is why I said in the verses, I said, while I think that the Juggernaut would win, I think that if Superman was going to win, he would have to outthink the Juggernaut. He would have to use the Juggernaut's powers against himself. Superman could do that. He's not an idiot. He could punch all day long, and it wouldn't do jack shit to the Juggernaut. If he started outthinking the Juggernaut, that's where he's going to gain the upper ground and win.
Now, when you say punching the Juggernaut, like what specifically? Because again, I only really remember like the Juggernaut from like the X-Men actual like cartoon series.
That was based off
the games.
That was based off the comic book series.
Okay.
So it breaks down to the irresistible force meets the immovable object.
Okay. So now with Superman,
the Juggernaut, Superman would be the immovable object.
Okay. Now,
so Superman.
Now how?
Go
now
ahead.
with the magic of the wristbands, is that how he's counteracting Superman, or is there something about the Juggernaut? Because my thought is a fully charged up Superman, like I mean, he could hit really hard. However, is there something about the Juggernaut? Is it like, does he have like a reflective force? The force used against him?
I believe the Juggernaut has a protective field around him because of the Crimson Bands of Sidorak.
Okay, and that is more of a magical item, which Superman does have susceptibility to.
Right, and that's why I said if Superman were going to win, which there's a high a high probable chance he would, is because Superman would realize, I can't beat this guy. I can't beat him toe-to-toe, face, one-on-one battle. I could throw shit at him all day. It wouldn't matter. I have to start outthinking this guy. And again, this is why I say comic books suck these days, because they don't use that part of Superman.
Well, in my opinion, it's just, my thought is, if Superman realizes, oh crap, this guy could run me down with some heavy duty magic, and just like that ability to just keep on going and just increase your force and everything, my thought would be, it's like, okay, well, if I don't want him to hurt me, I could just fly above him. And number two, once he starts getting going, I kind of do like maybe the whole jujitsu thing and use his force to toss him into the sun.
Exactly. That's outthinking him.
Right. Exactly. It's exactly what you said. And that's immediately where my mind went to.
Juggernaut. Because of the Crimson Bands of Sidorak, he can match Superman for physical force. He can jump just as high. He can jump just as far. He can hit just as hard, if not more. It's literally an idiot charging you, and you stick your foot out and trip him. Once he's done that, he's fallen, Superman literally can come up behind him and grab his arms and pretty much put zip ties on him and call it a day. Again, this is why modern comics are shit.
I mean, that sounds maybe a little bit, but as we'd see here, the unstoppable Juggernaut, according to Wikipedia. So, Juggernaut, Cain Marko, is a fictional character appearing in American comic books published by Marvel Comics, created by writer Stan Lee and artist/co-director Jack Kirby. He first appeared in X-Men number 12, July 1965. Let me see. It's Cain Marko is a regular human who was empowered by a gem belonging to the deity Sidorak, becoming a literal human juggernaut. He possesses superhuman strength and durability and is virtually immune to most physical attacks. His helmet also protects him from mental attacks. Ooh. Although not immune, Juggernaut has been featured as a prominent member of the Brotherhood of Mutants. He is also stepbrother, a professor. Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's if you actually keep the appropriate origins like you're supposed to, instead of having a billion fucking retarded reboots.
Well, it's all right. Oh, I see Ryan Reynolds is popping up. Is there any way that, I don't know, does Disney need cash? Can we at least fan raise maybe some money to buy at least some of the rights to Deadpool? Dude, that would be beautiful. Just have some fan made like that Deadpool things. Or the big thing is, I'd like to see another R-rated.
The version of Deadpool is actually more accurate to the comic book portrayal than the one with Vinnie Jones. And I like the Vinnie Jones character in X-Men: The Last Stand, but he was a mutant in that one.
Right, that's the thing. It's like all of a sudden he can't run anymore because all of a sudden his mutant powers are taken away. So that does kind of take away from, like you said, the original origin. But okay, so in some reinterpretations, most notably X-Men film series, Marko is a mutant who is born with his powers, while in others they simply come from his costume, aka his gear. So
the gem, depending on the iteration, the gem or the Crimson Bands of Sidorak are what give him his outfit.
Well, I mean, that's kind of like a lot of different things. All of a sudden, a character acquires a certain item, and then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, look, you have all these abilities. I mean, look at Spider-Man. It's like, oh, the symbiote. Oh, in that case, it kind of is actually kind of like becoming part of you as well. But it's like, look, you got a cool black suit, and who don't like a cool black suit?
And again, my post is long since gone because that was like my previous incarnation of my account. So I'm only on account number 7, by the way.
Well, this is the thing. It's hard to keep track sometimes. Also, it's like, oh, look, there are these messages from a while ago. Okay, let me maybe add this person.
And that's why I said Superman would outwit Personally, I feel Superman needs to be nerfed back to his golden age power levels where he's strong as steel, fast as a train, and can be hurt by tanks and bazookas as opposed to a nuclear rock. Jeffrey Turner, that's a very good point. The John Byrne run of Superman before he fought Doomsday was probably one of the best ones, because it's, what do you do with the Man of Steel who can basically do anything under the sun? Well, you create a foil in him and using Batman saying, well, because I'm human and I can outthink you and I'm smarter than you and I got plans on top of plans on top of plans to stop you.
Right.
You know.
Well, that was the thing, because even in, I think it was some of the special, either for TV or whatnot, adapted little film series, like when they have like that other universe Superman, it's like, well, of course Batman has a way to stop Superman. Of course he planned for this. This is what Batman does. He acquires basically all these fancy weapons and everything just because he's like, well, nobody else should have this. I'm going to store this away.
Yeah, and so, like I was saying about the verses, when you have two characters from different universes, and in this case of which we've been talking about, Juggernaut versus Superman, there are a certain set of ground rules that you have to have. The problem being, going back to the Goku Superman thing, is nobody ever talks about, well, what are the ground rules? That's where the Super Smash Brothers Ultimate comes in and says, hey, we've got all these characters from all these franchises. Their abilities are their abilities, and there's a common set of rules. If you have Samus Aran fighting Simon Belmont, if Simon doesn't go in and hit her with a whip to knock her off a ledge, good chance that Samus is going to bazooka his ass and he's going to fall off the ledge.
Well, this is the thing.
Characteristics of speed, power, and so on and so forth. But when a person falls off a ledge, they fall off a ledge.
Well, that's the other thing too, because you're talking about situational combat, and it is kind of like anything. So like that kind of brings me back to, like, since it is a multiple character thing, it depends on who those characters are kind of going after, the situation, the terrain of the level, and everything as well over there. Because like it kind of brings me back to like World of Warcraft, depending on basically a particular player versus player or arena group or anything, depending on what you had, it's like, well, you might match up really well. There might be a way where it's like maybe you have some really good players, but they're just against a combat operation that just it's not good for them the way things are stacked there. And that's why a character like Sephiroth could be extremely useful. But then again, depending on the situation, if you got somebody that Sephiroth can't even get close to, because most of that combat there looked fairly close to mid to close range there as well.
It was very mid to close range. His only real distinct advantage, at least from first sight, is his sword. So right. What? Samus can say, oh, your sword is 15 feet long. Okay, I'm going to stand 25 feet away. Guess how much range my bazooka, my hand cannon's got? Way more than you got, buddy.
No, exactly. You have full screen there. Plus, also, the way I noticed, if I'm going by the Mazamune there, and it has like short to mid range, I'm like, okay, that looks right around the time where Samus can go into that little bomb rolly form. He can swing, completely miss, and then guess what? You're right there basically to do like an uppercut combo thing.
Right, and I've seen matches between people who play Mega Man versus Samus, and they're just nerfing the shit out of long-range shooting. Well, Mega Man and Samus are long-range fighters. Samus can roll into the ball and become a close ranger. I
think a lot of that is technically Jeffrey, because of like the power. Because it's like Superman, they're portraying him. It's like, oh well, he's like a god.
I'm going to address this. Jeffrey Turner, bring that back up. I want to reread that. I also feel every Superman versus Batman is getting old because it's always Superman bad. Give us a change of pace where Batman is flying off the handle and Superman has to outwit the man who outthinks him. It's poor writing. It's piss poor writing. Everybody, they don't know how to write anything.
That's the thing. It's like the way they are portraying it is a much more simplistic version. For something like that, you got to get really complex and then basically have an extremely well thought out story there. And I don't know. It's just so much easier to say Superman is bad.
Everybody should go watch the Force Snakes Injustice review when they get a chance. The Force Snake points out that the biggest problem with people who do the Superman versus Batman thing is they don't know how to write. They get so sick and tired. And and I agree with him. It's people don't know how to write Superman. They always make him quote unquote the bad guy because they feel that if he has one bad day, that he'd go off the deep end, like in the Injustice game. The Joker tricks him into killing Lois, who's pregnant with his pregnant with his baby. And because of that, he decides to go off the deep end, and Batman's like, I've had enough of this shit. Well, boo fucking who? The Batman had one bad day by both of his parents getting killed in front of his face by Joe Chill, and look what he did. There are people who have one bad day every day, and this is another reason I also say not only is the Injustice storyline bullshit with the authoritarian Superman, but the Joker is full of, and this is why I hate the Joker. Oh, I had one bad day, so I decided to become a killer clown. What the fucking do, buddy? As I stated,
I thought the Joker was from years of mental trauma and like an abusive father or something.
No, that's just bullshit. Here's the thing about that: nobody knows his genuine origin. They've never had one cemented. So it's parts of it is okay. Let me compare these. There's a line in Grand Theft Auto 5 where you do a mission, and Michael DeSanta is talking to another character, Dave Norton. He says one of two things. He says, well, we've learned about the heist. We shot one guy, he died, and we shot you, and we cut a deal with you on your deathbed, or you were in on it from the beginning, and we shot this person, we tried to catch this other person, he got away. And then Michael DeSanta said, well, who's to say which is true? Well, it's a combination of the both. Right. It's like the Joker's origin. Nobody genuinely knows. And unlike Wolverine, as much as I hate the Joker, because they never settled on an actual origin for the most part, that's a good thing. But to go back saying, oh, I had one bad day, so I'm just going to become a killer clown. Fuck you. I've had bad days this past year with losing family members and friends. You don't see me going out and committing crimes.
Right. Well, this is the thing. I think the way they kind of pitch it for Superman is that, well, who's technically supposed to be the closest to all powerful, that has all these abilities that they could probably be the most easy to go authoritarian. And to be fair, as Jeffrey was kind of pointing out there, could it not kind of be pitched like, well, basically Batman kind of loses faith in a lot of the other heroes because the sheer fact that Batman's like, let me have all these countermeasures to all these heroes. So essentially, if I needed to, I had a way to take every single person out. It's like, you sit there, you actually think about it, you're like, okay, if you think Batman is good, this makes sense. If you're like, Batman can be dark and shady as F, yeah, it's like, okay, maybe Batman ain't necessarily all that perfect. There's your perspective as well.
Well, I can't remember. I actually have most of the DC animated universe movies up until recently because I've just stopped buying a lot of things. There is, it was Justice League Doom. That was an adaptation of a story. And Superman and they're all like, well, how could you do this to us, blah, blah, blah. And Green Lantern's like, well, it makes sense. We're the most powerful people on the earth in the universe. And if Batman can make countermeasures for every single one of them, and they're like, well, how do we stop you? And he goes, well, that's what the Justice League is for. If I'm to keep me from being OP, ASF, Batman saying, this is why you guys exist. If I decide to go off the rails, you should all know how to stop me. If any one of you knows how it goes off the rails, I know how to stop you because you will not stop, or somebody may not be able to stop you because emotions may get in the way or friendship may get in the way. So Batman's saying, and that's a good, and if you guys ever get to see it, go watch it. But that story basically explains, you are the countermeasure to me going to the dark side. I am the countermeasure to you all going to the dark side, because somewhere down the line, somebody is not going to be able to cross a line. And if I have to be the bad guy, I will. And that Justice League Doom is the exact opposite of what the Injustice series is of, and the thing about Superman is he's not supposed to be the Superman like he was originally created for. He was supposed to be, this is what we can be. This is what each person should aspire to be, the best of themselves. This is why Superman has the Clark Kent persona, to humble himself, to bring himself down to earth, to keep himself level, which is why he has relationships with Lois Lane and other people, because he can become too separated from humanity way too quick. But again, it goes to the fact that people don't write stories for shit these days.
Right. Well, I mean, he also had the Kents to help raise him and stuff, basically on a Kansas farm, and at least going by what I know and remember from the series and just general memetics there, it's like, all right, you come up as a farmhand, that can be a very, very hard, taxing life and everything, but it's like you get a certain level of small town things, you get to know people on an individual level, rather than how in cities at times it kind of seems like country mouse and city mouse can be a little bit of a different creature.
Well, it keeps him human, and you got to remember, 2 Jewish guys created Superman. And
right. You go your way, I'll go Yahweh. Give me 2 seconds. Continue, sir.
Okay. And so, two Jewish guys created Superman. The polar opposite of that would be Superman Red Sun, where he lands in the communist at the time USSR, and he becomes a tool of the state, which is only reflected equally in Frank Miller's Dark Knight. Dark Knight Returns, sorry. I really don't know what to say. He just left. So. We're going to go dead air. We're going to go silent for a little bit till Memes gets back. Okay, here's something I would like the audience to think about. And this is one of the reasons I consider the Joker a crap character, is because they just use him for whatever reason to do the stupid shit he does.
Wait, what?
I was just trying to fill the dead air. Here's a question I would like to pose to the audience.
Go on.
If everybody can have just one bad day, which we all do, if it's so simple to, go into a life of crime, to just say screw everything because this happened and this happened. There you go, buddy. I like the Jack Napier Joker from the '89 Batman movie too. He actually has a defined origin, and the reason why. It makes him way better filling of the character. I posed this question to the chat. If one bad day can make you go off the rails, why hasn't everybody gone off the rails? I think it's because, while we all know the Joker's a fictional character, and he's over the past 15 years easily become a very crap character. He's a weak character. is a weak character because people have bad days all the time and they're not going out and doing what he does. I would further go to say that Harley Quinn is also a weak character because even though she's relatively 20 some years old as a character and relatively new in regards to comics, she has yet to define herself as a character. But she's, why women emulate her, or why everybody looks up to her as a character. She likes to be abused. What's up with that? We in the real world we say, well, hitting women is this, hitting women is that, blah blah blah. You can't, that's not the way to treat a lady, or that would be considered abuse. This would be considered abuse. Why would anybody need to look up to Harley Quinn? She's intentionally being a domestic abuse victim. When would Harley Quinn ever figure out to say, screw you, Mr. J, and, go on her own way? Well, they actually did that in the Injustice games, which was fucking great. And they tried to play it out as, in the Injustice game, that was probably one of the best things about it, is Harley Quinn in the alternate universe became her own person because Superman did kill Joker, and she became her own person free of the Joker. And when the Joker from our universe came over there, well, from the other universe come over there, she basically bitch slapped his ass and beat him. But what's this kind of behavior? If everybody can have one bad day, why haven't we all gone to this kind of behavior? It doesn't, because reality is it doesn't work that way. That's not how the Force works, so to speak.
Well, see,
I would pose that to people as a question.
Well, see, I also think, didn't they do that in the more recent Birds of Prey, the story of the amazing, fantabulous, whatever, Harley Quinn?
Well, first off, that wasn't Birds of Prey. Secondly, my younger sister bought me that DVD. I have still not unwrapped it.
I haven't seen it. I don't know. It looked kind of fun from some of the previews.
I have a lot of beefs with that movie. I think it should have just been a Harley Quinn movie. They really should have just called it Harley Quinn. Had they called it just Harley Quinn instead of Birds of Prey, not only would it still have sucked, it would have made so much more sense because it's a character development of Harley Quinn on her own after the Joker is not in her life from the Suicide Squad movies.
Well, I thought the whole point is it basically was a Harley Quinn movie. They just happened to call it Birds of Prey, and then that's the reason why they went back and kind of changed the name.
No, they changed the name because I remember being part of this, is that the characters that they used were originally from the Birds of Prey comic, and they have bastardized the shit out of them. I like Harley. I think her as a villain is bogus, and she needs a redemption story where Batman frees her from the Joker. Jeffrey Turner, I would pose this to you. Why can't she free herself like she did in the Injustice series? I thought that was because Superman killed the Joker. Yeah, but she doesn't need Batman. She also made Superman to kill the Joker. No, I'm saying that somebody took that choice out of her hands, but she also made the choice in the Injustice storyline to say, "Yeah, Superman killed the Joker. Superman's nuts. Now, do I either avenge the Joker or do I get my shit together?" And she chose to get her shit together. It is proposed in the DC animated universe, which includes Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, Justice League Unlimited, Batman Beyond, Static Shock, and yes, fucking Teen Titans. Screw you, Watchtower, YouTube.
I love Teen Titans.
Dee Dee from Batman Beyond, the two characters of Dee Dee, are Harley Quinn's granddaughters, which means that the Return of the Joker storyline shows that somebody had to kill the Joker for Harley Quinn to free herself. But it also shows the fact that she was better off. Yeah, that's not an unfair thing to say, Jeffrey. That's not unfair at all. It shows that anytime that Harleen Quinzel is without the Joker, she is better off. So,
well, it's a toxic relationship.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, they just kind of feed off of each other and everything. This is the thing. that I thought that was the whole point of like the new whole Star Wars thing. It's like the whole Reylo thing. It's like, well, it's a highly toxic relationship. It's like they're literally in each other's heads and stuff like that, and there's weird shit going on, and you're both very confused. You're kind of at that age where like there's a certain level of tension here. It's like, I want to kill you, but I also want to make love to you.
I'm not even going to touch.
We might even be related.
I'm not even going to touch the fucking bullshit Star Wars Disney Wars shit. If you guys want to know what I think, go watch E semicolon. You literally put an E, the semicolon symbol, and R, in YouTube, and put in Star Wars after that. He bitch slaps that because she's a Ma Ray soon. We're not going there. But that gets to the point is, how much is it going to take for a person to get out of a toxic relationship? Where do you draw the line? Because some people in real life never get out of it and they die.
Yeah. Oh, that's totally true.
Uh-oh. I think we lost him. Anyway, so when he comes back, we're going to get back to the Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. I'm wondering what you guys think about that. Do you think Sephiroth is a good addition? There you are. Did you leave us?
I hit the wrong thing. See,
Nice job,
I'm currently eating Cheez-Its, but I don't want to do it on camera because that does bother some people.
You're doing workout videos of like 138 days straight, and yet you're fucking eating Cheez-Its.
They're not straight. They're not. I did that for like the first 60 days or so, and then I realized, I'm not really in an anime universe, so the body actually needs some time to heal. Oh, look, I'm actually feeling a lot better and able to improve faster by actually having some days. Dude, when I first started working out back in the day, I literally treated it like Dragon Ball. I'm like, I need to work out every day, so I'm like bench pressing like every single day and everything. And then all of a sudden, I actually learned how to work out. It's like, you should give your body some days to rest so your muscles can heal. I'm like,
well, no shit.
So what you're saying is I'm not a Saiyan? I don't got no senzu beans either, so I guess I got to take a couple of days off. And it's like, oh, then
you're actually any given in somebody who's younger than me. On any given day, you can work 4 days a week, and then 2 days rest, and then go back to 4 days a week and 2 days rest. It's not that fucking hard. But when you're in your mid 40s and everything's gone downhill, that's vastly different.
Well, I mean, I think that's why you go to.
But
your
that
doctor.
doesn't excuse you.
No, and then you get a prescription for testosterone. Hey, excuse me, they are actually Cheez-Its grooves. If
I don't care if they're
the nice ones. They're very crunchy.
Hey, if I want to be sarcastic, if I really want to be serious, they're white cheddar, sharp.
Oh, they're beautiful. I love the sharp white cheddar. But Jeffrey is letting you know because Harley was in college to become a psychologist. Bruce was in college with her. They had a thing, and he left her to pursue his Batman thing, leaving her to fall victim to see.
I think this is his Batman's fault. I think this is his fanfic.
Now is that like the plot to like that Batman high school thingy? Because apparently there are a lot of people that really like it. I didn't watch it either. I mean, it didn't look like it was necessarily made for quote unquote me. But then again, some of the storyline and stuff from what I heard, it's like some people seem to really like it, and other folks are avoiding it. I think they're afraid because they might like it.
That's why it did so well. It got canceled.
Yeah, dude, they can't. There's so much stuff that ends up getting. We're gonna do this whole thing, like even with like all the announced different Star Wars like series and stuff. This is what we're projecting to do. A lot of stuff might not actually make it to production. Why? Because they put out a bunch of ideas. Basically, they put out a bunch of ideas, and then it's like, all right, let's see what the reception is. If people like, yeah, we're not interested in that at all. If you don't have a target audience that's really there, why the heck would you spend the millions of dollars and make it? I mean, people like to rag on Disney, but it's like, okay, the whole goal of the quote unquote the fandom mess was, I think, to have better Star Wars. From what I'm hearing from many people is they seem to actually be enjoying some of the season of The Mandalorian. You're getting Ahsoka, you're getting all these things, and now they're talking about all these different universes. You're talking about a Kenobi series. We could get to see Kenobi versus Vader again. Maybe that's completely breaking some canon there, but I ain't gonna lie. Is there really anyone out there that's like, I totally don't want to see freaking Vader versus Kenobi?
Why would they have? Okay, first and foremost, it would be breaking canon because when George Lucas, and by the way, everybody needs to stop defending George Lucas. He sold his franchise to Disney. He willingly sold his creation.
I thought he sold it after the fan backlash from the prequels.
No, he sold it in 2013. Really? Okay. He sold the fact that he sold it to Disney. Stop defending George Lucas, people. He willingly sold
him like $1.5 billion.
$4.5 billion. I don't give a shit.
Wait, $4.5 billion for a series that you're probably not going to make any more movies of at the time?
People need to stop defending George Lucas. He willingly sold his lifelong creation that he reaped all the rewards and benefit. And so when they, I know they're good. They're good shit. I like the extra toasted ones myself, but the thing is, because they now own episodes 4, 5, and 6, 1, 2, and 3, and all this other shit, Vader can't fight Obi-Wan pre-episode 4. That would ruin the canon of their films, which supposedly is supposed to lead up to Rey being the last Skywalker.
But right? No. Well, why? Does it specifically say after their encounter on, I forget the prison or the fire planet or whatever? Does it say it's
Mustafar? And yes, it does. In episode 4, episode 4, where they're on the Death Star, Darth Vader says to Tarkin, "I've not felt the presence since," and then they meet up before the escape on the Millennium Falcon, and Vader says, "You were once the student now, or I was once the student, now I am the master," and he says, "Only a master of evil, Darth." And they had not, and it has been 100% confirmed they had not met since the battle on Mustafar, because Kenobi went into hiding to watch Luke Skywalker on Tatooine. There had been no battles between Obi-Wan and Vader since the Battle of Mustafar.
Now, but didn't you just say no? Hold on, no. In the movie, he says, "I haven't felt this presence since." I remember that part of the movie, but he never says Mustafar. As far as what I understand, people that were probably asked
he didn't say Mustafar because they never originally planned on making a trilogy anyway.
Well, exactly.
But now that Disney owns Star Wars outright, hook, line, and sinker, episodes 1, episodes 2, and I tell people I actually like Rogue One, by the way, even though we know how it's going to end. It's kind of a downer because you really want Jyn Erso and the other guy to live.
Rogue One confused me because I'm like, where's Rey? Where's Finn? Where are all these new characters that I was introduced to? No. Dude, to be fair, as far as the movie went, I'm like, all right, let me give it a chance. I'm like, this isn't original Star Wars. I would have liked to see a lot of the other characters, but I'm like, let's see what they do with it. Did I feel like there was certain elements that I would have preferred? I felt like it was missing something. I felt like if there was more there, making those connections, like when Rey is finding like Luke's lightsaber and stuff like that. Like if you could have fleshed that out at some point, maybe not even in that movie, but also when Rogue One comes on, I'm like, where are all the characters I know? And then we get towards the end of the movie, I'm like, I get it. And then we get to see Vader freaking.
Don't try to derail the subject. You asked me to answer your question, and I'm answering your question.
Go on.
Now that Disney owns the rights to Star Wars, hook, line, and sinker, episodes 1, 2, 3, episodes 4, 5, 6, even the bullshit 7, 8, and 9, whatever you want to call them, are all canon.
Okay.
They're all canon. They're all in sync. They're all canon.
Right.
So when Anakin and Obi-Wan fight on Mustafar and he gets his ass kicked, they don't meet until in episode 4.
Do we know that, or
yes, we know this.
Where in the movies do they cover that?
I already answered that.
No, you didn't. You provided speculation. What I'm saying is, I believe somebody probably said this, but was it somebody was asked after the prequels when they saw each other, and they're like, they hadn't to connect basically Mustafar to episode 4, aka the original Star Wars. Basically, they're saying at the time when he said that, Darth Vader means Mustafar, but as you said, since Disney now has it, since they never said that in any of the actual movies, they can basically say, well, he actually meant this other epic climactic battle that we never knew took place.
No, because all the books that have come out since then have everything solidified in cement. That Vader and Anakin have not fought since the battle on Mustafar.
Okay.
You gotta remember. Now Obi-Wan still went out and had adventures. Don't get me wrong, but he was still on Tatooine, keeping an eye on Luke Skywalker.
But is it not possible this is an untold story?
No.
Okay. Why?
Now I'll tell you why. Because we know Disney would do this anyway, because they don't give a shit.
No. I'm not saying that Disney wouldn't do this anyway.
Let me answer the question. We know Disney would do this anyway because they'd want to make money. They would, and they've shot themselves in the ass by disregarding their own canon. They've shot themselves by disregarding their own canon quite a few times. Is it possible? No, it's not possible. Would Disney do it? Yes. Would they retroactively canon their own canon? Two canons going off at the same time? Absolutely. They would have a hell of a time explaining between the battle in episode 3 and the battle in episode 4 how this happened, which would then be, again, two canons going off. They've already screwed up their own canon so many times.
Well, you just say that nobody knew about
it. What?
You just say that nobody knew about it.
What do you mean?
And again, it's like, I haven't really read the books or anything like that, but if it says that there, but like, does it actually say that, or is everybody just inferring that? Because
no, it's okay. In the pre Disney owning it, it was solid stone because there was a lot of books that took place before because it took place in the expanded universe, which they disregarded. Right. So
what I'm saying is, if characters were speaking about that, a character can say something. It doesn't necessarily mean it's true.
Well, I'm trying to explain this. Pre-Disney owning Star Wars, it was solid as steel because there was the expanded universe, which covered every single topic under the sun. In the Disney canon, it's only solid as cement, which means it can be broken and they can be repatched. They've been caught with their pants down a few times retroactively their own canon. So right now it's in solid as cement. This is where I say, could Disney do something like this and retroactively do it? Yeah, they could. But for right now, it's cement, not steel. This is one of the lines in the movie of episode 4. Darth Vader says, "I've not felt a presence like this since." And then when they meet, I was the student, now I am the master, only a master of evil, Darth, meaning that the last time they had fought was on Mustafar. There have been a lot of really good.
That was in the movie?
Huh?
That was in the movie? I'm just trying to figure out.
In the movies. There have been, in the comic books, which are official Disney canon, there have been a really lot of good Darth Vader stories. He has yet to come across meeting Obi-Wan. You've got to remember, Disney has owned Star Wars since 2013, so this has been 6 years. In 6 years' time, there has yet to be any meeting between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. The reason they do this is because they know, and I'm not a big fanboy, I just study a lot of history in regards to Star Wars, because hell, I grew up with it. I'm from the 80s. They know there was some jackass, some fucking uber nerd that would actually go, well, actually, and then point it out, and with social media being what it is, make Disney look bad, and then Disney would have to retcon their own retcon. Is it possible Disney could retroactively retcon their own retcon? Oh, shit, yeah. If nothing else but to make money. In some manner. Will they make a movie about it? I don't know. Will the Obi-Wan Kenobi series mention it? Could possibly be. But it's also like one of those, Oh, it's like in the Castlevania series where one of the Belmonts goes through the Castlevania game and they don't fight Dracula because they miss Dracula by like 5 minutes. So it's one of those things to where Obi-Wan could run across Vader. They never meet because it's like if you and I were in the grocery store and we don't see each other, it's like, hey, man, I was over at the grocery store 5 minutes ago. Oh, that's funny. I was over at the grocery store 10 minutes ago and I didn't see you.
Well, exactly. Just because the thing exists doesn't necessarily mean that those two entities are going to encounter each other as well.
Right. And so for right now, it's definitive. But it doesn't mean in the Obi-Wan series, it couldn't be like, oh, this dude is over there and I was over here and we just didn't run into each other.
Well, my big thing is I look at it and I'm like, all right, while I believe, and this is why I was asking you about this, and you know what? Hey, I'll take your word for it. If they said it at some point within one of the movies or specifically in one of the books in the extended universe, that's perfectly fine. My thing is, I tended to think, at least with people just saying that it was assumed that Mustafar was their last battle, and that basically anybody that actually knew that essentially Anakin Skywalker became Darth Vader, they would have known that, or basically had heard. So it would be a limited number of people that would be like, okay, well, Obi-Wan fought Vader on Mustafar, or he fought Anakin on Mustafar there. But at some point during, like you said, Master Kenobi's travels across the galaxy, perhaps at one point he very briefly came into encounter with Vader, and that had just not been like detailed in like the holocrons or something.
Now, that's up for grabs. That's where I was more along the lines of saying, as of right now in the movies, either Disney owned them or not, it is solidified that they have not met because he was hiding out on Tatooine protecting Luke Skywalker.
Again, that was the original story that I had heard, but I thought that was more.
This is how it's still currently going. This is why I said in the Obi-Wan series, if they get to it or they don't get to it, I don't care. It could be like you and me being in the same grocery store, missing each other by 5 minutes.
Right.
So that's how that plays out. And again, I'm not a big Star Wars fan. I just know everybody rips on Rey. And my biggest problem with the entire fucking sequel trilogy is it's fucking garbage because you had two directors who didn't respect each other. Nobody knew what the fuck they were doing, and Disney only wanted to make that fucking fat cash, which is why I say go watch E:'R's videos on either BitChute or YouTube about the Rey trilogy. Because honestly, I saw The Force Awakens. I fucking hate all three movies, but there's so much wasted potential. I honestly would have rather have had Finn be the main character.
Well, that's what it looked like. That's what it looked like from some of the original trailers. You're like, wait a second. Is this guy going to be like Fives or something? Is he going to break the conditioning and become a Jedi? Dude, that looks sweet.
Yeah, and the problem with it was down the road is they had Finn use a lightsaber. Not a big deal because Han Solo used a lightsaber to open a tauntaun. But they had him fight somebody who's supposed to be practically a Jedi.
That confused me.
Well, that's not how the Force works. You can't have somebody who just picks up a lightsaber. I'm going to go against the Sith. It'd be like me picking up a gun, never having shot one, go against five armed militiamen. I'm going to get my ass shot.
Well, this is the thing, and it's like, had we not had the history of like the prequels, it's like, dude, when those things came up, the Phantom Menace, it's like you see Darth Maul, dude, man, is flying around, tearing freaking people apart and everything, and then all of a sudden it's like, all right, you got this stormtrooper, he's kind of broke out of his conditioning, he picks up a lightsaber, and he's literally going toe to toe with a Sith Lord. I'm like, okay, if you're going to do that, it's like, okay, I'm expecting Finn to become a Jedi.
Yeah, and see,
that's the thing.
And see, the reason I was disappointed in the whole fucking thing, not only was the acting piss poor, the script was shit. Juju Abrams pretty much copy and pasted A New Hope, but you had Kyber Crystal, not Saber Crystal, Kyber Crystal,
right?
For Jeffrey Turner out there, I think, but we all know what you mean. The thing is, you could have had Finn as the lead character, or had you actually done it right, Juju Abrams, have Finn and Rey and somebody else be the trio, like they did in the original movie. When the original movie was, we have the journey of Luke Skywalker. We have Luke Skywalker meet Obi-Wan. Then we have them meet Han Solo, and then they meet Princess Leia. And then by the end of the movie, they all come together as a team. Well, if you're fucking copying and pasting A New Hope, you fucked that up. Nobody gives a shit about Poe. Everybody hates fucking Rey. And Finn was...
I thought Poe was all right. I thought he was pretty cool. But then again, I did kind of like Rogue One. I thought it was kind of fun.
Rogue One? He's not in Rogue One. That's Jyn Erso.
Oh. Wait, are you sure?
Dude, I'm pretty fucking sure.
All right.
And the thing is, they tried to do that to where Poe meets Finn, and then Finn meets Rey, but Poe doesn't meet Rey until later, and they just couldn't fucking write a script to save their life. Finn had so much potential because they actually gave him the most of a character. Okay, why? I when I first saw this, like, how the hell do you have a black stormtrooper if they're all supposed to be clones of fucking, Jango Fett? And they explain, oh well, all the clones got killed off in the long run. And they started kidnapping the kids and mind wiping them and brainwashing them. I was like, oh, that's great. That makes sense. That makes sense why you would have Finn as a stormtrooper. Oh, and by the way, we're gonna have him fight a Sith Lord. Wait, what? No.
He's a very temperamental Sith Lord.
He's a fucking crybaby.
He has some anger issues.
I have anger issues compared to this little bitch.
Then again, we probably shouldn't give you a lightsaber either.
I'd rather take the blaster.
Dude, did you hear? Like, apparently they created like a real life lightsaber.
That's not unreasonable. That's not unreasonable. I mean,
dude, it's so soon. Hold on, I'll try to find it. Continue ranting about something.
So, they wasted the potential of Finn because they built him up. They actually gave you a backstory to who he was and why he was not going to do what he was going to do, and they throw that to the side. They focus on Ma Rey Su, who can do no wrong, who never fails, who doesn't even take the hero's journey. All the meanwhile, you have two characters such as Poe, who is completely underutilized as a character, and Finn, who is basically disregarded because the Chinese don't like black people. But you didn't hear me say that.
They made, apparently in the marketing for the poster, he became smaller.
Somehow.
That was a thing there.
Yep.
And my thing is, it seemed like they had these characters, they started developing them.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of forgot about them. It's kind of like, what was it, in like Dragon Ball, it's like freaking Akira Toriyama and stuff like that. He kind of forgot that launch existed.
Yeah.
For a while. It's like, oh yeah, well, let's toss her back in this random figure.
But, the difference between the two is, and I've read the original manga, and in regards to the cartoons, it's Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball GT, fuck everything else. But the problem is, Ryan Johnson came in and fucking screwed over everything that Juju Abrams set down. For as good as bad as The Force Awakens was, there was material there that could have been built up and carried on. And so you get two different directors. You get one who doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. And by the way, fuck you, Mark Hamill, for taking the money. You cashed the fucking paycheck and then you let him slaughter your character, make him a simp.
Now, did they really do that, or did they just not really utilize you? Because I'll be straight up. It's
you got to remember
the Last Jedi. I mean, it was all right. As a Star Wars movie goes, it was meh.
Yeah. Well, to me, it wasn't even a good movie because you got to remember Mark Hamill came out on record saying, "No, Ryan, that's not what Luke Skywalker would do." Well, you cashed your fucking paycheck and you danced like the monkey that you are, and they let him fuck your character over and kill you off.
Well, he was doing his job.
I can do my job at my job, and if I agreed that something is morally and ethically wrong, I will say it and I will get away with it.
Now, is it morally and ethically wrong to just say I disagree with the writing of the story? Because I mean, Stone Cold Steve Austin also did that to Vince. He didn't like the story arc, so he kind of pieced out. So,
well, yeah, it is. You cashed the paycheck. Let me give you a brief example. I happen to help run a grocery store in a major chain that is both in America and has its counterpart over in South Korea. And I spend 6 months out of the year in South Korea in Busan, and right now I'm currently in Davenport, Iowa. And I had a customer come in on a mobile, kind of like a mobile cart for the disabled, and this person had an air tank. And he seemed to be under the impression that our grocery store was, quote unquote, mandating that he wears a face mask. And I walked up to him while he was making my rounds, and I said, "Sir, are you okay?" And he goes, "Well, I need to take this face mask off because I can't breathe." I said, "We don't require you to wear one in the store." He goes, "Oh, I thought the sign on the door said that it was mandatory." And I said, "No, the sign on the door is asking people to please wear one," which, by the way, I've already told the company if they ever think they're going to get any worse with this, they're going to get fucking sued. And they realized I was right. And I said, "Sir, because you have a medical condition to where you actually have to use an air tank to breathe, you are by no way required in any way, shape, or form to even remotely follow this. It is hazardous to your health, and it is preventing you from breathing properly." What a fucking Karen over here, this whole thing. She turns around to me and tries to read me the riot act, and I took my face covering off, and I turned right to her and said, "Ma'am, I work here. I'm required to wear one. I work in a certain department, which you would not want somebody to sneeze because that would have a vast amount of cross-contamination. However, this gentleman here has an air tank. I will not have him wear one because it could cost him his life." Well, this. And I said, "I don't really care. You don't work here. You're not my boss." And I said it just like this. "You're not my boss. You have zero authority to tell any other customer to wear a face covering. And if you don't like it, I'm going to have to ask you to put your groceries down and leave." Well, being upper management, I can say this. It's still not very sociable, but still. She goes to my boss. She goes to the HR manager too. And I said, "Did she happen to tell you that the gentleman that I was talking to was severely handicapped and it had a air tank that he was trying to breathe through underneath his quote unquote face mask?" They go, "No." And I said, "I bet you didn't." They said, "Well, who are you to tell this customer what they can and can't do?" And I said, and I named my position. I said, "My name is Dave Lee Murphy. This is what I do, blah, 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 blah. And I have the moral and ethical obligation to say to a customer, your life is important to us. You do not have to do this. Please breathe through your, with your air tank. And if you need help, we will be more than help and assist you." Not the same situation as Mark Hamill taking the paycheck, but he took the paycheck, he cashed it, and he still had the moral and ethical obligation to say to Rian Johnson, "Hey, my character would not do this. Don't do this to my character because that's not what this character would do. It makes no sense. It's illogical for my character to try to kill his nephew and behave in a certain way and throw a lightsaber behind my back, like whatever."
Now, I understand that's typically how Mark Hamill would have portrayed Luke Skywalker, but as you said at this point, basically kind of Disney, they own the IP, they get to do the writing, so they end up going in the direction of that. I thought The Last Jedi was the whole story was
Rian Johnson
the
did the
failure of
writing.
Luke Skywalker because he didn't end up living up to the name of Luke Skywalker, because that's what exacerbated the issue, because it's like Luke Skywalker, he's supposed to be literally helping to bring balance to the Force along with his father. Like, he's the person that helps to change Anakin/Vader's mind to actually turn on and help finish off the Emperor while sacrificing himself. It was due to Luke's influence, who came into this world because of Anakin there. And I thought this was the whole thing, that basically he had that great success and this was his failure. Now, if that was the story they truly wanted to go with, again, I'm being very charitable right now in how I'm portraying this. And again, they made that extremely clear. And this was the worst part about Luke Skywalker. So Luke is going to train this young Padawan and basically bring up Rey and stuff. And if we kind of had the story like that, where he is training her and everything, and then he transfers all his knowledge, and then she becomes all the Jedi, like, I think that's a story that a lot of folks. Well, this is the thing. It's like, had they done a better job executing, and again, I haven't seen like the rise of
If you haven't seen the rise of Skywalker, then stop, because I've seen it, and I can.
I mean, it looks like it has action.
So fucking what?
I like action.
Here's the problem.
I'm easily amused.
Yeah, you are. You're dealing with me. The problem is we had J.J. Abrams do the first and the third movie. We have failed the City Files arrows that make his head. Thank you. We had Ryan Johnson, who took over the middle, who didn't know a fucking thing about Star Wars. Even if Luke Skywalker was to fail at his mission of being Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill is still morally and ethically obligated to say, hey, this is not what my character would do. He could be down the lowest depths of despair, but he would have to find some way to rise up and then train Rey, and Rey being the problem is she can't do no wrong, which is why she's a Mare Sue. It doesn't work. Ryan Johnson, as a person, does not understand Star Wars. He doesn't give a shit. He took the money and ran. And people bought this fucking shit up. They never really give you the acceptable reason of why, I had a vision that Ben Solo was going to be a Sith Lord, so I'm going to go fucking kill him. Why? Why if Luke Skywalker is supposed to take over a mentor role as Obi-Wan Kenobi did, why would he not just go up and say, "Hey Ben, I had this dark vision. What's up, buddy?" Because in real life, uncles and nephews don't try to fucking kill each other.
Right. But and again, I think they could have, if this was a story that they truly wanted to push and they wanted to do it to the optimal level, in my opinion, and again, they touched upon this very briefly, is that he had seen this rage once before. And like, basically it was like Invader or stuff like that. So it's like he feared, and basically if you were to extrapolate this out, which you could have done actually very quickly in one real quick flashback, and basically kind of like the whole Anakin thing, the whole reason he turned to the dark side was to save the person he loved. So basically this was the antithesis. Would he sacrifice a person he loved to do the right thing?
No.
Again, had this been iterated upon and displayed in some way, showing the tragic choice of he doesn't want to do this, but in order to protect the Force and everything, he might have to do this. And like you said, at the last second, he realizes. And again, I think had they portrayed that scene even a little better, being like, what the hell am I doing? How could I ever think about this? And then rather than fighting him right there, all of a sudden, freaking like he sees him there and he has this in the back of his mind. It's like, oh my God, was my uncle getting ready to kill me? And they dramatize that even over a short period of time. Now you got a story.
Yeah, well, see, that's the problem. They didn't. Instead, they have Luke Skywalker turn hightail and run. I'm gonna go fucking hide on a fucking, island. Blah 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 blah. Thus, leaving Ben Solo to the whims of fate and to be manipulated by the Emperor, who somehow lives for some fucking reason.
Well, I didn't even think it was the Emperor. I thought it was like Snoke or something.
Well, he's a clone of the Emperor. This is why you got to watch the movies, buddy.
You're
gonna hate this shit when you.
You know what? I'll look at it. I'll be like, again, and this is how I kind of go into it. Generally, I typically watch a movie when I go into it. I'm like, I assume it's going to suck.
Yeah.
Just because I find if I do that, if the movie ain't great at all or anything, or it's very meh, I'm just like, meh. And then if the movie is actually halfway decent, I'm like, all right, that was pretty good.
Well, you know the spoilers of who Rey really is, don't you?
I heard how they were going to pitch it, but they never officially said it.
She's a Palpatine. She's not a fucking Skywalker. That's like you taking up my last name for some fucking reason. And we're not related and we have no shared connection other than this. I love you, buddy, but I would not want you to be a Murphy.
No. I see in the back of my mind, I'm like, if it's the Rise of Skywalker, and at the end it's like, I am Rey Skywalker, it's like, well,
she just took the name.
Well, couldn't she be Luke's daughter?
No, she's not. Do we
know that?
Yeah, they've proved that she's the granddaughter of Palpatine.
Again, I remember somebody said that in the movies. No, did they?
It's in the movie. Watch the last fucking movie already.
I only thought that was just speculation from like some of the articles and stuff I said, where they're like, well, we went over going through this. I don't think they say it in the movie. Again, I haven't seen the movie so I'll take your word for it.
Watch the movie. And that's the thing, buddy. It's just like you saying, yeah, I'm a Murphy. It's like, dude, you're not a Murphy. I love you, but you're not a Murphy. She just takes the name of Skywalker.
You don't know I'm not a Murphy. To be fair, I am a little Irish. Hey, and on St. Patrick's Day, we're all Irish.
There's a little Irish in everybody.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
But the point is, she just takes the name. It's like, why? Well, because I'm honoring these people. Well, that's great, but that doesn't make you a Skywalker. Let me break it down in the simplest of terms. A godchild does not necessarily, and oftentimes does not take the last name of a godparent unless they are related. Like my goddaughters, I have 4 of them. They are the children of my friends. They do not share my last name. If Rey was accepted into the Skywalker family by Luke saying, I think of you as my own daughter, a surrogate, because he has no children and she lost her parents, it would be more accepted by the audience at large to say, this makes sense of why she would say, I'm Rey Skywalker, because she was welcomed into the family officially by one of the Skywalkers, which there were only 2 of them, Leia and Luke, and neither one of them said you're a Skywalker.
I thought in the extended EU, Luke had a family.
That was the original. That's now been discontinued, by the way. Thanks, Disney.
But no. See, and again, in my opinion, as soon as I started hearing about it, and I haven't read the books, but I've listened to some videos about the stories of Darth Plagueis and stuff like that. I'm listening to some of these stories, hearing about Abeloth and stuff. It's like, yeah, dude, you literally have I don't know, 50 to 100 years of content of movies and series that you can make. I'm like, why aren't you using this? These are such great stories. See, I thought Jada Solo and stuff, and Abeloth. I'm like, okay, you have a protagonist here. I'm like, you have a very strong female protagonist if that's the route you want to go. And guess what? The ultimate villain, your ultimate antagonist, the highest power level person there, also happens to be a strong female character. I'm like, what's wrong with this? I don't know. This seems like great stories and stuff. These are things that you could use.
Here's the thing. I remember hearing about Disney buying Lucas's Star Wars, and I turned to my best friend at the time, and I said to her, "Oh, we're fucked." And she goes, "Oh, it ain't going to be that bad." And I said, "If they don't take over, if they don't use the extended universe characters of Jaina and Jason Solo, at least, it's going to fucking suck." And all these years later, she and I are no longer friends. She comes up to me while I'm at work and she goes, "Do you remember the last time we talked?" And I said, "No." She goes, "Well, it was right after Disney bought Star Wars." I'm like, "Uh-huh." She goes, "You're right." And I go, "What was that?" And she goes, "You're right." And I go, "A little louder, please." She goes, "You're right," and storms off.
You're such a dick.
And well, she was the one who terminated the friendship down the road over some stupid shit, and I don't really give a crap. The irony of it, I didn't like her ex-husband at the time. Now her ex-husband and I talk all the time, just as when he comes grocery shop, I was like, "Dude, what's up?" And she was always the biggest Star Wars fan, more than I was, and she got cunt punted so bad. And like I said, the Force Awakens, regardless if hey, Disney officially said, well, the stuff before we bought it no longer exists except for what we pick and choose. Even if they fresh started, they wasted their potential that they had.
Here, I agree with there was so much lost opportunity there. I have a hypothesis. Again, I have no contacts within the industry. I'm just trying to have this make sense because I'm like, okay, if Disney is a publicly traded company, and they have a fiduciary duty to their shareholders to maximize their return on their investment stuff, does it not behoove them to have Disney Star Wars make all the money it possible, especially when it comes to action figures, this, that, and the other thing? I'm like, the extended universe, how much merch do you have available? How many stories do you have to tell? So my hypothesis is it possible that maybe, I don't know, and again, I have no evidence of this.
They're retarded? Of course they're retarded.
No. Rather than taking these things with certain very strong female characters that they could tell stories of that's already established within the Star Wars universe, rather than do that, is it possible that, I don't know, maybe somebody had a particular script from somebody that they knew and or wanted to hook up, and they're like, well, look at this. We could do this. My question is, who wrote this series?
I don't know. all I can tell you is that
Sure.
the stuff like the Mandalorian, and by the way, I love Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka Tano.
Team Ahsoka.
Okay, thank you. I love her as that character. I think she was one of the best characters that come from the cartoon and the 3D animated series. That was the good shit. And that was even owned after. That was even going on after Disney owned it. They never managed to fuck that up. I don't know what the hell their problem was with the movies.
After Disney took over the Clone Wars, because I remember there was like a season and a half there where I really wasn't as big a fan of what they were doing with the Clone Wars, and then they kind of finished it out. Although I ain't gonna lie, that the Maul arc and the Clone Wars saga was,
Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
but they still had strong female characters that weren't Mary Sue's, and they had a lot of good script, and they still, they finished kind of weak.
Ahsoka was kind of a Mary Sue in a way. You know, she was highly talented, but she did also make mistakes. But that played into like her banter between Anakin and herself.
Well, that's the thing.
I thought they did develop it over time, and she didn't overcome everything. There were times where she totally did fail.
That's the point.
So, but she did start off at a very high level.
Do you know what a Mary Sue is?
Apparently not.
Okay. A Mary Sue, by definition, is basically the person writing. It oftentimes is a female writer inserting themselves in fanfic or whatever of whatever series, to where their character never fails. Rey in the current Star Wars Disney universe is a Mary Sue, which is why we make the joke Ma Rey Sue, because she never fails. She never learns from her mistakes. If any are ever made, she can do whatever the hell she wants with little to no consequences. It just happens right out of thin air. The reason
doesn't she get kidnapped?
Nope, stop. I need you to tell me the gal's name again. I mispronounced it. Ahsoka?
Ahsoka.
Right. She is not a Mary Sue because while she was a very gifted Jedi throughout the series, she fucked up a lot. She got hurt. She got beat. She got her ass kicked once or twice in near death after Anakin turned into Vader, and she came back better than ever. And she learned from her mistakes. She became a well-rounded person. She actually had what Joseph Campbell called the hero's journey. Rey never had those. Rey is a total Mary Sue, which is why I said it's wasted potential because they didn't go with Finn, because he already was on the hero's journey. Because you get introduced to him, you find out what his backstory is, you find out what goals he wants to accomplish and how he's going to accomplish them. Rey is just like, I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want because it's in the script and I can.
Now, doesn't that just kind of play into like the whole like Mark Hamill thing as well? They were just going by the script. They were doing their jobs. I mean, unless they're an executive producer on the film, they don't really have that sight. It's like they're there to do. They signed on to do a job. They might not necessarily agree with it. Okay, let me focus this down. Now, again, I probably even have a better hypothesis here. Does it come down to the sea cow milk? Dude, ultimately, no. This is, I'm using my rage beacon.
Just make me
and when you break everything down, it's like I keep on hearing about like, oh my god, this soy cow or something like titty milk or something. I hear that and I'm like, this is where people rage. This is that ultimately the source of people's frustration?
I don't know. I was laughing because I just imagine that scene where he's drinking. He goes, and it's just by itself so comedic. Luke Skywalker as a character through Mark Hamill's portrayal was not what we call a Gary Stu, because he fucked up hard and he learned a lot of his lessons. The reason I call him a simp is because he gave up too damn easily. Going back to the thing of like, instead of saying, like you pointed out, if he and Ben Solo had a quick battle and then realizing, hey, what are we doing here? It could have avoided the shit of going down the road that Anakin Skywalker went into. But we've been talking about Star Wars for a little too fucking much.
Oh, no. And again, this is why people like actually enjoy it. And this is one of the reasons why I think like the Phantom Menace like actually did pretty well because like it is fun to talk about Star Wars and everything. I feel like a lot of time I'm kind of defending Star Wars. Why? Because I think a lot of folks are just kind of getting like their rage boner to the max and stuff
Yeah.
to just kind of like yell and launch some ad hom attacks against some of the producers and directors and stuff. And while you have some not so kind things about these folks, you're at least primarily focusing on the reasons why, as far as writing or whatever it might be.
I've never met Ryan Johnson. What the fuck am I going to get mad about him for? I think he sucks as a director. But that's also the same. Okay, I'm gonna make a comparison here. I was disappointed in the 2016 Ghostbusters movie because of Paul Feig. Yeah, Ahsoka even got people killed. Mare Sue didn't have any of that shit. Here's the problem I had with the 2016 Ghostbusters. If I were to have written it, I would have kept the same characters, the same ladies in the movie. They're fucking great. I've seen those gals in other shit. They're wonderful, just not the script because the script sucks. Paul Feig is a fucking romantic comedy director. He's not a supernatural thriller comedy director. He fucking sucks. You go see Bridesmaids or whatever the fuck he did. I think I saw it once. I said, wow, it's the same guy that did Ghostbusters 2016. Yeah, that wasn't too bad. That's his wheelhouse. I would have kept Ghostbusters 2016 as Ghostbusters 2016 and had the torch passed to these ladies instead of trying to do something like copy shit. The problem was the script. The script sucked, and the actresses did what they could with it. But that's because Paul Feig doesn't know how to fucking write Ghostbusters. You can't capture lightning in a bottle twice. And they tried to do that. And as compared to the last of the sequel trilogy, J.J. Abrams, while he may have been copying pasting the original trilogy, he was still trying to bring it to the modern audience who had no interest in seeing the original with characters and probably could have filled these characters out. But Ryan Johnson just came in and fucked everything up because he sucks at directing that genre of movie, the same as Paul Feig. Yeah, see, I've seen Ski Patrol. What the fuck happened?
Right. Well, this is something, and again, you don't necessarily want to completely typecast a person as well, but there are certain people that, whether it's a director or a particular talent, you tend to think that they excel at certain particular roles.
Right.
Like, let's take it. Oh, I forget the gentleman's name. He played Boromir in Lord of the Rings and Ned Stark.
Sean Bean.
Sean Bean, yes.
Yeah.
Sean Bean plays an incredible protagonist that's great at being killed early on in a series.
Yeah, sadly, that's true.
Dude, I mean, dude, like when I watched Boromir, I'm like, oh crap, dude! It's like that really helped me. I get the fellowship to be like, well, he was
he was in that Nick Cage movie when they go after the National Treasure, and he didn't die in that movie. His character made it throughout the entire movie and he got arrested, but he didn't die.
Well, I mean, hey, there's the first time for everything. So this is, and again, not to go back to Star Wars, but I'm going to go back to Star Wars real quick there. But I thought the whole thing with kind of like Luke is like, that was like the story of, he was known as Luke Skywalker. He basically saved the galaxy. And then at the point, it's like, okay, because of his actions, he ended up basically sending freaking Kylo down this path of darkness. So he fucked up the galaxy. So he was so ashamed, and since it was his family, he's like, all right, peace out, guys. I'm like, I don't want to fuck it up anymore.
Yeah.
But then again, he also shouldn't have given up.
There's also other problems of the fact that this sequel trilogy basically says, oh, none of that stuff that Luke, Leia, Han, and Chewie, and Yoda, and Ben Kenobi died for or suffered for made any difference, because somehow the Galactic Empire's back in less than a lifetime, which would never fucking happen. Which is why I say go watch the E:(R) videos on the Star Wars sequel trilogies, and he will not only will he make fun of them and you'll have a good laugh, but he'll point out why those movies as stories are terrible, not necessarily characters. You wouldn't have, and I hate to make a real world comparison, and I'm not going into politics. I'm simply making a real world comparison. Do I have a Twitter? Yes, I do. You can look up at real. Yeah, thank you. There you go. Nazi Germany. I'm not going to politics here, but the lifetime of people that have fought in World War II, who are most have passed away now, in their lifetime, they had not witnessed that same event repeat itself. Story-wise, it doesn't. Luke and Leia, Han and Chewie were all still alive. Why the fuck would they have to go through that again? It makes no sense. So story-wise, it's a failing.
I feel like there was so much missed potential there,
God,
and that is a very aggravating thing.
That's why I have a problem with the movie. Not because they disregarded specifically the EU pre-Disney owning it, which, by the way, that was their first fuck up, but because they set up such possibilities with Finn, Poe, and Rey, they fucked it all up. I've said to people, I said, okay, Rey's a Jedi. Okay, that's fine. Luke went on his path in his first appearance to become a Jedi. When Empire Strikes Back came out, he still was using a lightsaber. He was starting to learn the Force, and he went to train to be a Jedi. The second movie should have been backstory of how Rey was able to gain access to Force powers. They fucked it up by making her a Mare suit and putting Finn on the sidelines and basically turning Poe into nothing because of political garbage.
And okay, now not to rage, but I'm going to rage just a little bit here. But it's like, okay, that point. All right, we have this hyper cannon battering ram. We need to break through this extra thick blast door. And then all of a sudden, it's like, you got Finn and you got Rose. And it's like, we're going to sacrifice ourselves. And then last minute, it's like, I care about you, Finn. We end up getting out of the way. And as far as I understand, nothing really ended up coming of that either.
I think they went to a casino planet or something. Why would Finn fucking do that?
No, my thing is, I'm like, all right, these two seem to have a connection here. Is this going to be anything that comes to fruition, or did they just kind of forget about that?
Yep. Yeah, and see, even if you could have simply had, Rey and Finn and Rose be along the same path as Han and Leia if you wanted to, but they fucked that up.
And wasn't there some point at one point it's like Finn's like, Rey, I have something to tell you, like multiple times. Like
and she's like, don't mansplain to me, and like, whatever, asshole.
No. Well, actually, okay, I'm going to riff on this for about 20 or 30 seconds. See, I think that's where some of the problem comes from here. And I think a lot of the issues we have is what we've been doing is we've more or less been going through and being like, okay, here are some of the issues we had with basically the new series and everything, explaining, well, what could they have done to basically help optimize it? Like, here's what we could have done. Here's some opportunities we feel they missed. Whereas it's like, all right, some of these people are maybe quote unquote more progressive or SJWs or something like that. So let's start getting very angry and hurl a lot of not nice words and stuff there. And as soon as we start to get into that, one, you very often will get more clicks because folks like seeing insert group we don't like here destroys these people we don't like. Excuse me. Insert group we like here destroys people we don't like. And we just get into that. And it's like, at that point, now you're basically just hurling a bunch of insults at people. So if people respond and say not so nice things, oh my God, these people responded. How dare they mention the fandom menace there? It's like, all right, well, were there not people using the hashtag the fandom menace saying not so nice ad hom attacks against these people that were part of it? And again, I've heard folks say, it's like, well, the actress, I apologize, I forget her name, that plays Rose Tico and stuff. She left social media. Well, no, she never said it was us. She never said it was us. I thought she said that she was tired of things online. That's why she left. Could it not be the fact that a lot of folks weren't necessarily big fans of her character? And even if folks are just saying, we don't like your character, we might take that personally. Especially if you happen to be a newly famous person for a number of reasons, and you're getting that in mass. Because all I know is if somebody sends me some mean words on the internet, at times I'm like, well, that's not very nice. I can only imagine what happens if I'm getting that 5,000 or 10,000 times a day. That would kind of suck. Just saying. I think she left because people were being mean to her. That's just my opinion. But go on.
I especially hate the Raylos because they cucked the Faye pairing.
I don't even know what that is.
I know what the Raylos are. Those are the fangirls that wanted the hookup between Kylo Ren and Rey. And in the ER video that I was talking about, they show that there's a lot of fucking poser fangirls that went to these movies and went completely autistic, and they just wanted to see Finn Rey. And they went.
Dude, that actually, I don't know. They were pretty good friends.
Well, yeah. See, and that was. I'll get back to that. But these autistic fangirls just wanted to see Rey and Kylo Ren make out and shit, and it's like, you're wrong movie, asshole.
Well, I mean, who really cares? And if they happen to be neuroatypical, it's like, again, who really cares if that's what people would like to see and they don't get it? Yeah, I mean, people will be kind of pissed, but
they were
literally
autistically screaming. I mean, you think that some of the hardcore Star Wars fans get pissed over these movies? These girls were just as bad. They were fucking literally yelling in the theaters.
Now, to be fair, Dade, didn't you raise a couple of young ladies? At times, I have heard, and again, I don't have any sisters, young ladies at a certain age can be very loud at times.
My girls were never this loud.
Okay. Did they ever watch these movies?
They hate these movies.
Okay.
And I'll give you a reason why. Because they're in their early to mid 20s now. And when these movies came out, they were never Star Wars fans. They grew up. I thankfully had video cassettes and DVDs of things, and I said, "Hey, I'm never going to make you watch something. If you don't want to watch it, just ask me, and I'll let you borrow it." And they did. Some stuff they come back, they said, "This is great." Some stuff they come back, "This is stupid." And it's like, all right, yeah, you made your choice. But they never got into Star Wars. They never got into Star Trek, and that's just because that's the generation they're from, and that's fine. It'd be the same as me getting into the Big Bopper and Elvis Presley and Buddy Holly for music. Well, I never got into it because that's not my era.
Well, I mean, isn't that, like you said, it's not your era, and like, in my opinion, again, Disney Star Wars kind of actually makes a lot of sense in some ways. And the reason why I say that is because somebody even said it on, I think it was like a John Talks live show, I think it was Nina Infinity. It's like when you see, was it Kathleen Kennedy with something of course is female, and she basically straight up says, like, well, Star Wars is pretty much mostly a boys thing. Like,
no, she was doing that. She was doing that to piss on people. And I think the biggest problem is it doesn't matter who the protagonist is. If you have no story or lack thereof story, and you bring in modern politics, which is what Kathleen Kennedy and Disney has done, then you're going to piss off fans of multiple generations, especially guys like me, who, to quote Brie Larson, well, it wasn't really made for this 40-some-year-old man. It's like, that's fine, dipshit, but I've got kids and I've got a grandkid on the way that, yeah, asshole, I kind of have to be involved because as a parent and a future grandparent, it's my fucking job to make sure that these kids don't turn up mentally retarded like you.
No, I'm not sure that's a fair characterization at all. But my big thing is here, I'm like, well, if the majority of the typical Star Wars audience tends to be, I don't know, dudes that generally range from somewhere probably between 20s to 50s or so, it's like, all right, if that's your heaviest demographics, it's like, well, wouldn't it make sense to tap into demographics where you don't have as much saturation, i.e., I don't know, gals from like, I don't know, 10 to 50 or 60 or so. I don't know. I'm just saying that, well, you also have like a new generation as well. So you're going to
works both. It works both ways.
That's true. No, you will have. Yeah. Can't make everyone happy.
You have to be able to tap into the younger generation and get them interested, but you also have to keep the older generation who by osmosis, by osmosis, they're going to, what did, fucking there was something that I was watching an angry video game nerd video once, and he was reading something from Nintendo Power. And I think it was actually in the Nintendo Power issue where they're talking about they were talking. He was the person wrote the response to Nintendo Power saying that younger people look up their older people, and by what older people do or they think is cool, younger people will think is cool also. So you would want to aim whatever your product is at the older generation as well as the younger generation, because like I was saying, by osmosis, the younger generation is going to say, oh, this older person who I think is cool thinks this is cool, so therefore I'm going to think it's cool by association.
Well, Disney
You've got to be able
did a great job at doing that through things like
Did they?
Shrek. No, through other like things that they have in their history, like Shrek. In my opinion, I think they did that wonderfully well. Or certain like references you're made, you're like as a kid, you're like, oh, that's funny, and then as an adult, you're like, oh crap, they actually put that in there. That's funny.
Well, I think Disney did that better with the Marvel Cinematic Universe by simply being the distributor as opposed to actually touching it.
No. Here's the thing: Disney bought LucasArts, but
they bought fucking Star Wars as the franchise. They own the name.
Okay, but I thought they also bought LucasArts, and couldn't they have done the same thing?
No, they're not that. Again,
I'm confused.
Okay, Kathleen Kennedy put her fucking fingerprints all over everything. When it came
did she
to
have to do that?
No, she didn't have to. If she was fucking smart, like they did with the Marvel universe, they would say, we're going to distribute this. We will not touch it. Because they were in the middle of the Marvel Cinematic Universe when Disney came in and said, hey, we're going to buy Marvel and we're going to distribute your movies, because they already knew it's like, oh, we touch this, we're going to fuck it all up. Kathleen Kennedy did this out of pure ego, which is why everybody has a fucking problem with her. I personally think she's a bitch because of her loud mouth, thinking that she can do it no wrong. That's a personality conflict issue. Other Disney, let me see, what was his name? Somebody can find his name. The guy who was actually running Disney at the time.
Oh, Bob Iger.
Bob Iger said, Bob Iger has basically said, hey, we bought into Marvel, but we're not going to touch Marvel because they've already got something good going on. We'll simply distribute it. Distribute it. Either like, we're just going to get it put out there.
They already had a plan.
Right. Well, Kathleen Kennedy came and says, yeah, Disney bought Star Wars, but we're going to fuck everything up and discontinue the expanded universe. If I was Bob Iger, I would have said, you're fired.
Now, who was that specifically Kathleen Kennedy's decision? Because I do remember seeing a clip of something saying like they had all this lore and everything. And like that's what a lot of folks, because I thought the whole like Rey thing is they were literally going after like, I don't know, like Jada Solo and stuff. Like I thought that.
Well, see, Kathleen Kennedy and Jar Jar Abrams were the dipshits that said, oh, by the way, the original expanded universe no longer matters. And that's when everybody got pissed off.
You know what? If that's what you're gonna do, you say that from the outset. You don't just go around and be like, "Oh, hey, look, we have all these things that we're going to use, and then we're not going to use them." I mean, that seems rather silly, and you're kind of lying to people right up there. So, see that's the big thing. It's just, I think people's passion and stuff for Star Wars, and we're even seeing this within the Mandalorian itself right now. It's just like there's some folks they really happen to be enjoying a lot of this stuff with the Mandalorian. Other folks saying, well, no, it's not like the original stuff, man. No, and you got to hate on it. You got these folks that like supposedly liked each other for a while now going after each other because they happen to disagree about what they enjoy.
I don't have a problem with the Mandalorian. I know it's Disney's Star Wars, The Mandalorian. The thing is, it takes place after Return of the Jedi, and Disney higher ups have told Kathleen Kennedy to keep her fucking hands off of it.
I have heard people say that.
And because they told her to keep her hands off of it, Jon Favreau, who is kind of being a douchebag right now, is actually able to produce this series and be faithful and respectful to what all Star Wars fans want. And it's succeeded because Kathleen Kennedy doesn't have her fucking fingerprints on it. Like Jeffrey Turner says, Kathleen Kennedy even put her name on the PlayStation Network re-release of Super Star Wars, which wasn't on the SNES version, which I played enough times to notice it.
Was that the one where you would go around and you could swap from like the blaster to like the lightsaber and stuff? Because I remember playing one of the Star Wars games on SNES, and I remember it being very fun.
Yeah, there
really
was all three of them. There was Super Star Wars, there was Super Empire Strikes Back, and there was Super Return of the Jedi. And that's the problem with everything being on the PlayStation Network is why the fuck would I want to play that? We can actually go out and get the MAME of that. You can actually get the MAME of those games and play them without being through the PlayStation Network. But Jeffrey Turner's making the valid point of they're retconning a lot of shit that came out originally and now putting their fucking greasy fingerprints all over everything.
Did they actually change anything in the games, Jeffrey? Or was it more of one of those things, since I happen to be in charge of this IP right now, if we're going to re-release it, I'm just going to put my name and stuff in the credits. And because ultimately I thought a lot of this stuff came down to, it's like, because Kathleen Kennedy, she's in charge of the company or that division, that she signs the checks. So if you're the one signing the checks, I mean, you can put your name on whatever you want. I mean, politicians and stuff, they'll do that all the time. It's like, well, I signed onto this legislation.
By her putting her name into the credits of the re-release, she gets kickback.
Okay. Well, I mean, if she's getting money, I mean, isn't she incentivized to do that? So that's why I'm not going to go on my way to necessarily hate on it. Did she have actually physically anything to do, rather than potentially saying, we're going to allot this much money for this PlayStation Network re-release? And again, maybe she just literally stroked the pen.
She shouldn't have anything to do with it. She should have that.
If you're going to get paid,
that's like me taking the what's that Van Gogh painting that's really awesome, the one at nighttime.
Oh, the blah 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 blah. I forget.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think so. Like with like the lights and stuff.
Right. That's if I took that and I put my name, Dudley Murphy, on it over Van Gogh, because I now own all the Van Gogh family properties and all that other shit. It's not mine to touch.
Well, you're talking about that. We're talking about digital thing. That'd be more like putting your name on the back of a receipt of a copy of that photo because you happen to own it and you were paying people to distribute it for you.
But that's why I made the
if you also are in my thing is if she's incentivized to do that because she gets paid
she's
money.
Doing it because she's being a bitch. That's why I said when it came to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Bob Iger said, "Hey, we're simply distributing this." That's it.
And again, I tend to think that if you already had like George Lucas and LucasArts films and like basically, if you already have the machine set up, the machine is ready to go, doesn't it just come up to, it's like, okay, where are we going? And if Kathleen Kennedy is steering the ship, I mean, that is her call, and that would be on her as well. And like I've said, it's like I personally...
And then she plays the victim that she's done nothing wrong. That's the problem.
Well, unfortunately, there are plenty of people kind of like ourselves here that are been saying some not so nice things about her. And when you have that in scale, I do think that has an effect.
From a business perspective, she's terrible. She is an egotistical bitch with an attitude problem. And because she makes the money she makes from stupid people who buy shit that says Star Wars, she has the power to continually make bad business decisions. When she keeps her dirty paws off of things, such as The Mandalorian, things happen to go right.
Now, doesn't that just make her Superman?
No, not even close.
Like basically, aren't we Batman? Aren't we trying to connive a way to take out Superman?
That makes her Lex Luthor
right now.
Okay. No, that makes her Lex Luthor.
Well, I mean, I think she has more hair than Lex.
That's not the point. That her attitude is Lex Luthor is like, I am the best man can be. Alien comes down and is revered by more people because said alien was raised in a specific environment and actually wants people to be the best that they can be. I'm therefore jealous. I'm going to screw things up just to make this person look bad.
We also must not forget Lex Luthor stole 40 cakes, and that is canon.
What?
Lex Luthor stole 40 cakes, and that is canon.
Well, it used to be until Crisis on Infinite Earths, but that's always a good
one. Well, and again, this is why I don't necessarily let things bother me. It's like you just highlighted the fact that DC kind of like broke so much canon. It's like, all right, You got Star Wars. Is this really anything new, dude? I'm a long time like Dragon Ball fan and stuff, and like what they've done with like the Patara, the Fusion. It's like, well, no, this only actually lasts after like I don't know an hour or something, rather than like the enzymes within Boo's body, like defusing Vegeta and Goku and everything. It's like, all right, I'm kind of used to the retcon, but my big thing is, and I do think you really
how
echoed
long
this
can
point,
you retcon something?
do it well. Well, again, that's also
She's not doing it
20
well.
something years. And this, and then again, this is the complaint. As soon as you start throwing those not so nice words describing her and everything, at that point, now you're basically putting out there into the ether that everybody can view. You're saying not very nice things about her. And
You know what's she going to do? Sue me?
No, but she's going to
Not
say
gonna
like,
sue you.
well, there's a lot of fans saying not nice things about me, so people are going to say, well, people are attacking her, and they're going to have sympathies for her because a lot of folks are saying very mean, at times misogynistic things about a woman.
Having raised two daughters that actually provide something for our country, as opposed to Kathleen Kennedy, I can say whatever the fuck I want about Kathleen Kennedy.
Oh, you can say whatever you want. I'm just saying that people are being.
I can say her. I don't care if the Kathleen Kennedy stands defender. I don't give a shit. They don't pay my bills. They don't. Kathleen Kennedy as a person, I don't know her. As a businesswoman, she's terrible. Okay. As a person who works at Disney, her decisions are terrible. And those decisions are made upon her personal beliefs of she can do no wrong because she thinks she can.
Well, I mean, that's your opinion.
Yeah, it's strictly my opinion. It's not fact.
Right. No, and that's the thing, I think.
And that's the problem is a lot of people who say the similar thing, they think it's fact or they take it as gospel.
Right. And see, I think that's where so many of the issues just with pretty much everything on this internet stuff and things right now. And I think Moira said it best. It's unfortunately a lot of folks seem to want their opinions to be facts.
Now, I could say that your sunglasses are terrible because the lens color, but that's my opinion. The fact of the matter is they go well with your beard because of the color of the lens.
That's not an unfair statement. It also kind of goes with the scales of the dragon that slightly reflect off them as well. But Dade, we've been going for well over 2 hours and everything now. And
I wanted to talk Star Wars.
I know. And I needed to put my chicken in the oven that's on 350 about an hour ago. So it's all right. Hopefully it's not burning. I'm like, wait, did I put the chicken in? No, I'm just wasting gas.
Are you sure you just didn't have Cheez-Its caught in your cookie catcher?
Dude, I freaking love those Cheez-Its. They're freaking amazing. But
I personally am a fan of the highly toasted ones.
I have seen those. I'm probably going to maybe grab them next time. But hey, thank you all for watching. Anybody that may watch in the future. But yeah, we covered the little Sephiroth Final Fantasy 7 remake thing. Oh, excuse me, the entry into Smash. I forgot what we were talking about towards the beginning of the thing after Dade shared his thoughts about the passing of Mad Dodge. But thank you all for watching. Peace out, everybody. Be safe and long live the elbow bump.